Hey everybody, welcome to the CryptoOneStop channel, and in this video we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and talk about the coronavirus in the context of Bitcoin. I'm sure by now you've watched coverage of the coronavirus, especially when it comes to its human impact, the economic impact that it's going to have. But in my view, there's very few content creators out there talking about the potential impact it could have on the price of Bitcoin. And to fill that void, I created this video to discuss my thoughts and insights on what could potentially happen to the price of Bitcoin if certain events play out. Now, not everything I say is prophetic, but a couple weeks ago I did mention that the markets would likely be rocked by the consequences of the coronavirus. Given the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, knew about this back in October, but decided not to tell anybody, meant that a lot of people from October until it was publicly known around January and February, during that time frame, a lot of people were moving in and out of China unscreened. So I speculated that this was going to get worse before it got better, and it hadn't been priced into the market. I told everybody in my private Discord that I was going to be taking a defensive position just to weather this out, and that call ended up saving me a lot of money, which I could use to potentially buy the dip. With that being said, this is the outline for the video. It's likely to be a two-part series. And whether you disagree or agree with my thesis, I strongly recommend that you guys share your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. It's a great forum for us to exchange ideas. And if you want to join my private Discord, reach out to me on Twitter, follow me, send me a message, and I'll give you full access to my Discord channel. Not only do you get crypto-related news, you also get some of my general market insights. This way, instead of waiting for a video, you can get my thoughts and insights right away. And whether you're deep into crypto or you're just thinking about getting in, consider joining my community by subscribing to my channel. And if you happen to enjoy the content, do me a huge favor by smacking that like button. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into this video.
How many people have died since the coronavirus outbreak in China began, really? And what's the true situation in Wuhan City, the epicenter of the outbreak?
The real question here is, can we trust the numbers that are coming out of China? Based on my personal understanding of how the Chinese Communist Party operates, I don't think any of the numbers are true, and there's mounting evidence to suggest that they are in fact lying about the numbers. A lot of economists and reputable people in the finance industry have pointed at numerous times, for example, the GDP numbers, all the economic numbers coming out of China are just plain false and they're fabricated. So if they're lying about the economic numbers, it's not too surprising to believe that they're also lying about the number of people who are infected and have died from the coronavirus. There's an exiled Chinese billionaire who lives here in the United States and routinely publishes content about the Communist Party and their malfeasance and all the corruption in China. Based on his context and his resources, he believes the government is cremating 1,200 corpses a day in Wuhan alone. He also claims the government will install as many as 1.4 million portable incinerators across China to cremate the coronavirus victims. By the way, if you guys want to see any of his content, I highly recommend that you guys do. You guys can search his name and it's out there. It's very accessible and easy to find. The billionaire also claimed that the coronavirus death toll had crossed 50,000. At the time, official statistics suggested that only 800 people had died from the infection. And a couple weeks back, he speculated that the coronavirus infected as many as 5 million people in China, with the death toll crossing 200,000. And to further substantiate his claim that 1,200 corpses are being burned on a daily basis in Wuhan, he states the capacity of each one of these incinerators is 5 tons. 5 tons is equal to 30 corpses. One incinerator can burn 30 corpses. 40 portable incinerators have been sent to Wuhan. 40 incinerators times 30 corpses, that's 1,200 corpses each day. And this next claim is really going to knock your socks off. He alleges that the Communist Party of China sent 400 such incinerators across China, with 1 million more on the way. And what partly corroborates Guo's claim is the fact that the sulfur levels are rising around the Wuhan area. This is the image that was picked up by satellite, and you can see that there's a high concentration of sulfur dioxide from the outskirts of Wuhan. And if you guys didn't know, sulfur dioxide is commonly associated with the burning of organic matters. And you can see here that relative to the rest of China, the levels of sulfur dioxide in this region are highly elevated. The question we have to ask ourselves is, if all the numbers coming out of China are false, and this is a lot worse than they say it is, what kind of implications does this have for their economy? What does it mean for the future of their economy? Before we get into that, let's talk about where China's economy was prior to the coronavirus. To put all that into context, I wanted to show you guys this clip that basically demonstrates how pessimism surrounding China's economic outlook is seeping in to the mainstream.
I think we all need to accept China is slowing structurally. We use the word structural and really we mean permanently. 10 years ago when China was growing at 12 and had really started this structural adjustment, we've never gone back to 12. My expectation is as we say goodbye to 6.
That number you guys see there relies on a lot of self-reporting. In my view, I don't think the number is anywhere close to 6%. I'm thinking that it's probably closer to 0. And with the coronavirus just decimating the economy, it wouldn't surprise me if the new number was in the negative territory.
It's very unlikely we ever get back to 6. I think this is a permanent slowdown in China, and so for the region, it's increasingly about having business models which fit a world where China is growing much less quickly and where trade is much less easy a growth support. That means increasingly domestic demand, and that means getting domestic financial systems right.
And to further drive home the point, I'm going to read highlights from articles that I've recently read. That wasn't unexpected. The Chinese official insisted that the country's economy will be stable this year, but it might be too early to say the worst has passed, according to analysts. The 6.1% GDP growth in 2019 was near the bottom of Beijing's target range and sharply down on the previous year's 6.6%. The country also reported that GDP grew by just 6% in the fourth quarter. This article's take was pretty consistent with the video you just watched. Countries also have to adapt to an environment where China is growing less quickly and trade is more difficult. So they might have to look toward their domestic economies for growth, he says. And this article is pretty consistent with what I've said about the supply chain. Is another way of saying that the supply chain that you see today won't exist anymore in the future. The hit to growth this year has come from Chinese consumers who hold off spending because they worry about the economy's future and rising personal debt levels. Elevated property prices have also strained their purchasing power. And this chart is just on a nosedive. If you look at the two spikes that they had, one was in 2019 and another was around 2015-ish. At those times, the Central Bank of China injected a lot of money into the economy. It doesn't matter how much money that they pour into the market, how many subsidies they provide, the sales just won't pick up. In fact, they're just getting worse. We've already talked about the GDP numbers being fake and fabricated, but in this graph you can also see that the energy consumption is going down, and this typically happens at the tail end of a boom cycle, and it shows that economic activity is on the decrease. By looking at all this data and everything that I've presented to you guys today, it's clear that the economy was already slowing before the coronavirus hit. And now with the coronavirus, you basically have a complete freeze on the economy. It's basically dead. I'm not suggesting they can't contain it or it won't get any better in the future. However, the country is going to have to deal with the aftermath. And if that billionaire is right about the number of people dying, it's hard for me to believe and imagine them just pumping massive amounts of liquidity into the economy and just pretending like nothing happened. In the long term, I think the Chinese people are very resilient. They'll overcome this. But in the short term, I think there's a chance that they're going to have to endure some pain. And it's going to take a lot of time and effort to revive their economy. Now the question here is, what does the transition period look like? Will China's economy still be number 2? Will the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, still be around, or will they be relevant? And let's say something does happen. Let's say that CCP dissolves. Are the rich going to leave the country? Recently, I read a piece on Zero Hedge about how the private flights out of China to countries like Australia and countries in North America, they jumped 200%. I'm going to cover that and much more in the second part of the video. If you're looking forward to that release, I highly recommend that you guys subscribe to my channel, click that notification bell, that way you get notified when that video gets published. And let me know what you guys think about my view. Do you guys disagree with it? Do you guys agree with it? Use that comment section below as a forum to express your guys' opinions. And do me a huge favor by smacking that like button if you guys enjoyed the content. With that being said, this is CryptoOneStop signing out. I'll talk to you folks next time. Bye.